So we're still on the manly aspect of things, and this is Bill.
Yeah.
Daddy Bill is a young man.
Yeah.
Good looking young lad.
Yeah,
This was
Ernie and
Aunt
Clem.
Ernie and Clem and Mom and Daddy Bill.
Okay.
And this was when Aunt Ernie and Uncle Clem were dating.
Mm-hmm.
Mom and Dad were already married.
There's a stinking Christmas tree in the
There's the
background.
Christmas tree.
That's the only time you guys took pictures. Is the Christmas tree. That's when everyone's
Not
together.
Taking pictures was a professional thing.
Yeah. Not
usually.
like what we do on our phones today.
But Mom and Ernie really connected because Ernie had been an orphan.
Mm-hmm.
And she was only about 17 in this picture. And Mom sort of took
That's
her.
you, huh?
That's
That
me,
looks like it.
right in
And
the
you,
corner.
to me, as a child, you look like Susie.
Really?
I think so. I think that looks like what I would envision Susie as a child.
Okay.
You carry. I think you carry both features and qualities, obviously, as Susie and my mom. But I think
It's
the
like-
older you got, the more you look like my mother. But as you're younger, you look a lot like
People have
Susie.
told me my
Yeah.
whole life, when I would meet people, you look just like Steve, you look just like, whoever I was meeting
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And
They
none
all
of
got-
those three ever looked alike.
No, none of them look alike, but they all have very
Well, we
similar
wandered.
features. I bet.
We wanted to. You know,
What did the milkman look like
Yeah.
back in
Yeah,
the day?
dark hair,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Just messing with you.
Okay. Aunt Mary was, after Paula died, Aunt Mary was older. She was married and she lived in Chicago, but she would come and she would cook and do laundry for Pop and the boys. And so she was very dear
Yeah,
to them.
kinda like a
and
second
Mary
mother
Ann
almost.
really kept in close touch with
Yeah.
her.
Just a small little tidbit. Daddy Dave and your mom never had children,
Oh, no.
even though your mother
no.
was so young.
Oh, no.
That seems crazy to me.
Well,
Or
Mother
at
was
least-
young, but
Yeah.
back then...
How old?
you know,
How much older was Daddy Dave?
he was, I think, 10 years,
Okay,
something like that.
so he's about the same age as Daddy Bill.
I would
really.
have never allowed that. Because we were practically grown children. To
Yeah.
have a sibling
Yeah.
that
Can
was
you
a
imagine?
little bit, no, we get rid of that.
Yeah, we're the favorites around here.
I wanted to tell you, this is Mr. Wright, who
Okay.
worked for Daddy Bill, worked for him. And he and his wife, I was told, were my godparents in the Episcopalian Church. And I think that's where
Are
he
they
got
the ones that
involved.
kind of helped elevate Daddy Bill to
Yes, he was,
Yeah,
yes.
as a business, yeah.
as a
Yes.
businessman?
But that's where the Episcopalian Church came in.
Where you were an altar boy,
Yeah, yes,
correct?
yeah.
As a younger
Yeah.
kid.
I did not know where Daddy Bill was buried. I had a childhood memory after he died of Mother taking us to a cemetery and seeing a name, just a name plated in the ground somewhere in San Diego. And years later, when I connected with Mary Ann, she said, I know where your dad's buried, East San Diego. And I went down, and sometime after Daddy Bill had died, Uncle Clem and his family had a headstone, and he is buried right next to his brother, Uncle Clem.
Okay.
And the girls took me there before I left California, took me there to
Very
see
good.
the grave sites again.
Very good. So here's the boys on the shores of California.
These were friends,
Okay.
young boy friends. Pop had this boat called the Mary,
Okay.
probably named after Aunt Mary,
Sure.
his daughter. And he would go out every day in La Jolla Shores, and that's where La
And
Jolla
what's he looking
Shores
for?
in.
Was he a
He
fisherman?
was fisherman, and
Oh.
he'd get fish for dinner.
Do you ever remember going on the boat with him?
Oh yeah.
Daddy Bill had a whaler.
I don't know what that is.
It's a whaler boat. It's like a big rowboat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Big
Yes.
rowboat.
Yes.
And it had it wasn't double prow. It had prow and it had the back end. And they go out fishing for barracuda and yellowtail.
Barracuda. Those are Those are pretty nasty fish. They got big old teeth and stuff.
Yeah, but they're good tasting.
Sure, which
And
is what matters.
they were very prolific in those days. I mean, they were all over.
Really?
And they would go out maybe a mile, mile and a half, and fish for
That
hours.
big rowboat.
And this big whaler, it's a huge rowboat, you know, it's pretty big. And the particular day that I recall, they had about 3-4 gunny sacks full of fish.
Okay.
You know, fish are big, and so you probably had maybe 8 or 10 in a
In each bag.
And I kept thinking that Mom was with us, but she wasn't because she was pregnant with you. Yeah. So it's Pop and I and Daddy Bill, and we're coming in, and Daddy Bill's standing up rowing in with the prow on the front going like that, and he hit a snag and the boat turned over. And Pop had me in it like this, and when we went underwater, he still had me like this. And
He took you with him.
about,
You're like a bobber.
yeah, so we were about 5 foot of water. So
Okay.
you know, so eventually he was holding me. He got to walk into
He
the
was
beach,
able to
and
get
the
his
boat
feet under.
go tumbling in.
Oh,
Daddy
no.
Bill goes tumbling in, and the fish go all over. And the memory is here we were dragging ourselves, saving ourselves.
Yes, which is
People
important.
out there didn't care less. They were picking up the fish.
They took your fish?
Oh, yeah. It was like free fish. I don't
it
know.
sounded like a bunch of seagulls coming
I
in.
don't know whether he sold the fish or what they did with it.
Okay. More, with that kind of fish, I'd imagine they'd start selling it. I mean, did you have deep freezers and stuff that you could?
didn't have
right.
ice. You'd have
About
ice
that.
houses, yeah, but
Yeah.
no. So, but that's the memory. The other one I have about seafood is the lobsters, the spiny lobsters, were pretty big.
Okay.
You know, they were probably 4 or 5 pounds would be average. Now you get, about
Yeah,
like this.
big
And
one.
so I came home, or I was home one day and went into the bathroom, and in the bathtub there was 4 huge lobsters
Got
that
some
he had got
lobsters.
that day.
Yes, I have a lobster story.
You got a lobster story too?
Yes, I do. With my brother.
I feel like he got you into some trouble.
No, when Mom and Dad would go, they both worked all the time. They'd take 2 weeks off every year, their vacation, and they'd go back to Iowa or they'd go
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah.
I'd have to stay with Grandma and Ferd, but Peter was old enough to stay home.
You weren't welcome to go on vacation with him.
Oh, no, they went by themselves.
I should try that.
And it was a school year, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff. And Grandma and Ferd just lived down a couple of streets down from our house. And I remember one time walking up to the house and Peter was having a party.
At the house?
At the house.
Why Mom and Dad's gone?
While Mom and Dad's gone, I'd
Oh,
gone up there to
boy.
get something out of my room.
Sure.
And there was a pot on the stove. And it was boiling like crazy. It had a lid on it. And all of a sudden the lid came off and the lobsters started trying
Crawling
to get
out.
out. They didn't know that you dropped them in boiling water.
Ah,
They put
yeah.
them in the water and then
Yeah, they die immediately.
Yes.
Opposed to letting them work. You tortured
Yeah.
them. Really?
So that same year, Mom and Dad were coming home, and I thought, I better make sure that the house is cleaned up.
Better make sure Uncle Peter.
Went back up to the house, no Peter, wet bathing suits all over the floor.
Oh boy.
Dishes in the sink. Well,
He's
yeah.
partying.
I saved him
Yeah.
that time.
You bailed him out.
Yeah, he would have been in
I'll
big
never
trouble.
forget it.
It sounded like you should have got a whooping much earlier on.
If I might have, if they knew it.
He was too,
But Grandma covered for you.
he was too popular for his own good.
It didn't matter.
And he had a full head of hair, and the girls loved him. And
Yeah.
he was the cat's
Well,
bananas.
I was at church with him this morning. I think the girls still love him. You got a lot of attention there from some widows that I saw.
Oh, they wanted to meet you as well.
They're into younger men then. But
Look, once a woman reaches 65, she looks
down.
downward.
Yeah, she ain't looking upward. Well, that's funny.
Yeah.
So how did you get the lobster? Because they're big 3 pounders. You just go
There was
grab
a
them.
lobster
Oh,
trap
yeah,
at and
Or
that
would
is-
you rob lobster traps?
No, that was when my Daddy Bill, would do it.
Okay.
When I was just a little
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
But subsequent to that, the lobsters,
They
were
were-
being fished out.
Okay.
But
how-
what you do, you get the feelers that have come out. You grab those feelers,
Uh-huh.
and they can't. The tail
can't
is.
pinch
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just snatch them up. So
Yeah,
you
and
kinda
they're in
gotta
the
go-
rocks. You have to go in there.
okay.
they were close in back
Yeah,
then.
so you didn't have to
even-
go out into the
Even
deep
the
water. and
abalone,
swim. Yeah.
right at the Cove Beach,
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
went that time.
Yeah.
They were right on the rocks there,
Hmm.
and you could pry them off with a tire iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'd get abalone steaks to take home, and we'd sell the shells to the tourists.
Hmm. Sure.
For
Oh,
50
yeah.
cents, But that's all been so harvested.
Yeah.
I don't even know. If
Well, they
it's-
probably didn't have any restrictions, or you didn't need a license probably to go
I
for some of that
remember
stuff.
Not then, no.
Not then.
And down south, you probably there's 3 species of the abalone. There's green, red, and white. I think that's it. The white is the deepest, and they're down around 100 foot.
Okay.
But up north, above San Francisco, they have made restricted any abalone fisheries up there. So you can get a license, like you got a deer
Yeah.
license, you
Yeah.
can get a license
To go out
and
there.
go out, and they go out maybe
Yeah.
10, 15
They're
foot
trying
water.
to save the species, it sounds like. Yeah.
And they get the green lobsters.
Yeah.
So.
When you were, I know you were young when you were out in the boat,
Green
but
abalone. Yeah.
do you remember, how did they fish for them? Did they net them? Did they spear them?
What,
Did they with the
lobster?
line? No, the fish, like the barracuda and stuff. How would
Rod and reel.
rod and reel? Just normal live bait, probably.
Yeah.
Just
And
throw some
there's
live bait.
there was so much fish then.
There, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's a concern that I have about the oceans today.
Right, right.
Is I think if you start looking at some of the populations of the larger fish in the tuna, it's
Yeah.
dwindled.
Yeah, it is.
I remember
substantial.
being at the Cove Beach one day as a young girl,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a diver coming out of the ocean, and his chest had been ripped over, and he had gotten into a school of barracuda
Barracuda.
right off the Cove Beach there.
Yeah, I believe it.
They were right there.
Big dudes too.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
right on the coast.
Well, my dad was a pretty avid fisherman, and he would fish for barracuda down in Florida, and he's got some pictures of some big ones. I mean, those things are nasty
Big
too.
and lots of teeth.
Well,
Lots of teeth.
But the flesh is good.
Hey, I like meat. You know that. Well, that's a fun story that he capsized that boat.
Well, it wasn't
And,
this boat. It
right,
was,
it was the big
a
whaler boat.
Whalers
Yeah,
boat.
which has a big. And I've only seen them in movies, right? Especially the you could fit probably 20 people in.
That's right, wide
Yeah,
beam.
big
and,
wide beam.
yeah.
Yep. Well, that's funny. So did he say was he able to manage to save the boat?
I
Do you
have
remember?
no recollection of it.
You were trying to survive.
His pop had me under there.
Yeah, you were just trying to survive at that time. Back to your story about how old were you when you were left at home by yourself? You'd had to been 10 or 11.
Oh, no, he was older than that. He was like 15 or 16.
Oh, so this is after Daddy Bill had passed away.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Daddy
So you're a
Bill.
teenage boy doing what teenage boys do.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah, and we're going to party and eat
they
some
did.
lobster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they used the house.
Yeah, sure.
All the beds were unmade.
Why wouldn't
yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah.
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 I don't blame you. I don't blame you for that.
I stayed
Well,
with
thank you, thank you.
Go on vacation. I love the house to yourself, but you weren't old enough.
to be by myself. No.
But
so
they
I
wouldn't
had to
even
go-
let you stay there with.
No. I went
probably
down to
knew-
Graham
they knew
first,
his
but I was
habits.
close enough to walk up and get something out of my room.
Sure. Yeah. You were just right down there.
Yeah. And
All
I walked into a couple of them.
Well, no wonder you got into some
Yeah.
mischief.
So this is Pop and Paula in Chicago
Mm-hmm. That's the
still.
whole-
Yes. And
That's the clan. Is he
Yes.
smoking a pipe?
I think he
Is that what
smoked
that
a
is?
pipe
Pipe.
and a cigar.
Okay.
Yeah. But he loved to fish. Even in Chicago, there are pictures of him on
Out on
lakes
the lake.
and stuff.
Yeah. Well, fishing's fun. I have a newfound desire for it, but only if I'm in a boat and I'm paying someone to find me fish.
Yeah.
I like fishing.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
And this was just one of their gatherings over
Yeah.
the holidays.
So the Manley family were pretty close. tight knit growing up. It looks like.
The boys were very, very close. And of course, after Paula died, Pop was close to the boys. And yeah, and they were musical. And
yeah, it looks like this
Yeah,
guy's
good
singing
time.
back there. He's got his. Huh.
yeah.
Those are.
Yeah, but man, Pop knew how to make beer and wine. So
Yes.
There were some parties.
I recall going up and having Daddy Bill and Mom, and I'd be between them, walking up about 3 blocks is where Pop lived from us. So they go up and cap the bottles that he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'd help package it.
Exactly, yeah.
Did he sell it?
No,
Or did he
No,
just
it was just for family.
in their cellar for these
Yeah.
Christmas events? It
And
looks
it-
like.
I think he made some hard liquor too, like gin maybe.
Sure.
He made some gin, but he was good fellow. Yeah.
And that house uptown was there for years and years.
Yeah.
Till probably 15 years ago. It
Yeah.
was still there.
So, Papa or what do you guys call him? Pop. So Pop outlived Daddy Bill quite a bit.
No,
No, Pop was.
no, Pop did not. Pop died, he was diabetic, and he got a gangrene toe. And they wanted to take his foot off, and he wouldn't let him. And he
And he
died
got-
of gangrene.
So, but you
Shortly before.
remember him.
I don't remember him. All
Okay.
what I've been told about him.
There's your story.
He
I'm
babysat
sorry.
me when I
Okay.
was first born.
So, but either way, if Daddy Bill passed away when you were young, there was a 5-year stint there between the death of
Yeah.
the both of them,
Yeah.
give or take.
Well, I think his death certificate is somewhere in here.
Okay.
Anyway,
So the Manley family had a rough stretch there for a while.
yes.
With his mom passing away, and then
When I was in first grade, I flunked the first grade because
how do you?
that.
It's coloring.
I mean, how you funk the
How do you flunk
I'm
the?
telling
in
you,
those days, it was-
I'm telling you,
Oh,
that year was the year that Daddy Bill died.
Okay.
We also had the mumps, the measles, and the chicken pox, and of
The
course,
trifecta.
and you're quarantined. The whole house is quarantined when
Yeah.
somebody has that.
Yeah.
That happened in 1 year. And
So that set you back
And
some.
I flunked.
Naturally.
Yeah. So I was an older 18-year-old when I graduated.
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I never knew who these people were, but that's you.
that was a good looking kid.
Look at that blonde
Wow.
hair.
You know that picture in my spare bedroom by my desk?
You got a lot of them in there.
Well, I know, but the one over by my desk is a picture of Peter and me when I was 4.
Okay.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he was 8.
You had that white blonde hair,
Yeah.
which I had some of that
Yes,
as a
you
kid.
did. Yeah. That's the gas station that the
Where-
boys had.
Where Mimi met him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was right at the
So
foot
did
of
they own it, or did they just
I don't
work there?
know. I think they just managed it, but it was
Okay.
Peter. It was right at the foot of the arcade. Remember the
Sure.
arcade that went up to the main street? That's where that was.
Yeah, it's a good location.
Yeah.
I've seen that picture
Here's the boys
with
again.
the Christmas trees.
This was after Daddy Bill died, and that's Marianne,
That's you,
and that's me, and that's Marianne at her birthday
Patsy
party.
Ann.
Yeah. But that's the house on Forward Street.
Not the one by Bird Rock.
No,
Or no. That was later.
No, Forward Street was Bird Rock, Peter. Yeah. These are, you've seen, again, this is Uncle Bud.
Yep.
This is Dad.
He's a Navy man.
yeah.
Daddy Bill holding me, and Uncle Clem. And this was at my marriage to David. And this
Oh.
was, yes, and there's
let me
Peter.
turn this around here.
Okay, there's Peter. There's Aunt Ernie and Marianne.
You did have more hair back then.
I did.
Yeah.
Been a high forehead.
And
Yeah.
David wore his suit. He was
Okay.
home from Okinawa.
Because Grandpa Dave kind of had a similar body structure,
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of thin,
yeah.
not really as tall.
Yeah.
Probably had to get the pants tailored a little bit.
I don't know that
No,
he
I
did.
didn't think so.
I don't think
I
so.
would have known.
No, no.
Bad enough that he wore my
That he had to
clothes.
wear.
Well,
clothes.
Peter had gotten this suit tailored in Okinawa.
No, they were made in Hong Kong when I was over in Okinawa.
In the Air Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you meet my grandpa Dave? When did you meet him? Was it?
Well, during World War II.
Yeah, but it was
same time.
well, right, but it was after you graduated. You were still in high school.
No,
Yeah, I was still.
you were still home. Yeah.
And you were in the 8th
Yeah.
grade when you met him.
Well,
so he's a junior.
We have a prom picture of his senior prom
Okay.
with David and I.
Yeah.
And he and Sandy Coates.
Yeah.
And Tommy Myers in the backyard.
And she was allowed to go to a prom as an 8th grader because of how popular you were.
No, I think it was because she was
No.
beautiful girl.
No, no. And I will swear to this day that
They don't swear. We're on camera. But
the
go
only
ahead.
reason David became interested in me is he was new in the area and he knew who my brother was.
And he wanted to wear my suit.
And he needed a good
Wearing his
suit. And so the popularity of Uncle Peter here.
I was the connecting link.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not good for my ego to keep talking like
That's right.
that.
Well, that was many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, changed.
Things changed.
That was Clem Manley, and he had antique cars,
Yeah.
and he had an
He
antique
collected them?
and restored them.
Really?
And he had an antique fire. Didn't he have an antique
Fire
fire
truck?
truck? Yeah, I think he did.
So how did he make his money?
He was head maintenance man of the La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club, which is a fancy place to
Okay,
this
George,
day.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big deal. The
Okay.
Kellogg family owned that.
Ah.
A big resort.
I've eaten their cereal.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Those Kellogg people?
Yes.
Okay. I've eaten their cereal.
Well,
He was quite the guy, and he would allow, or he would get permission for us kids to come in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And then during the summer when there were tourists there, they were renting there, it was a great spot, we would go in and mess around in the pool. And it was, people used to sit and watch us and,
Yeah.
and laugh and have a good time.
Do a cannonball.
And there was a Olympic swimmer named Sammy Lee. I've never heard of him.
I'm not up to date on my swimmers.
one of our American champions, Olympic champions.
Okay.
He was there one time and got us all together, and we were doing tricks, dives off the swimming board.
Good.
And it was a whole day. People were standing around, if I recall correctly,
Yeah.
because we were doing all kinds
All
of different
sorts of
things.
trips.
And he was Olympian diver. So
Really?
yeah,
So
Sammy Lee. I
you
remember.
got to mess around with him a little bit. How old of a gentleman was he? He was in his 20s. I
Yeah,
imagine.
he was in his 20s, and we were in our early teens, I guess.
Really?
11.
So was this after he won? He was in the Olympics.
Yeah,
Okay, so he's very
So he's
popular.
very popular, famous,
Yeah.
and then
You guys
here he is playing with the kids.
Messing around with
yeah.
him. That's
I
fun.
remember. It was a really great time.
That is.
Yeah.
That'd be
But
awesome.
I was very lucky to be with.
So right now, because we have a pool at our house with a diving board, and one of the things we like to do when we're all in the pool together is Sabrina and I will judge the girls based off of their tricks,
Oh,
and then hey, make the biggest splash, the best dive,
yeah,
the,
that's funny.
mimic the best animal. But we do that all the time too, so that is fun. That's awesome.
Clem had about 3 cars.
Yes. And he restored them all.
Yeah, really
He
nice.
was the sweetest guy.
Yeah, he was.
He was a sweet,
And he
good.
was the middle child.
And I always thought Steve favored him in looks.
Okay.
The
don't
shape
see
of
it
his
there.
face.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't.
He liked
see
his
it here.
hats.
But
So-
shape of his face and his smile and his demeanor. I always thought of.
So how long did Uncle Clem live?
I think.
Janet and I were married.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so he lived pretty
It would be after
fruitful life.
early 80s, right?
Did he fall into
He
the?
was ill when we came out to turn the money back over. When you and Patty and we met in Chicago, remember, and we took the train out. He was that when we were going home from there. That is when I called Aunt Ernie and asked for pictures, and he was
Yeah.
very ill then. And so Sharon had to be 5 or 6.
70. close to
in
70?
the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was he, did he kind of fall into the trend of alcohol like his older brother and
No,
dad?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, but he died of some sort of kidney.
Kidney failure
Disease
or something.
or something.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
that today you could probably survive.
Probably,
That,
yeah.
Well, it's too bad.
But after Daddy Bill died, Marianne was really quite a bit younger than me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
She's about 4 or 5 years younger than I am. She would have birthday parties, and they always included me, and you can see I was much older
Yeah,
than the
I
rest
see,
of
yeah.
them. But Aunt Ernie really endeavored to keep me in the loop, and
Yeah.
they lived right across from the ocean in La Jolla Shores.
That's awesome, yeah.
So, yeah, that
Beautiful area.
Those were good.
Now, I've been to La Jolla.
Yeah.
Were the sea lions everywhere like they are now?
Oh no, La Casa Beach
Uh-huh.
is where I learned to swim.
So they didn't have thousands of sea lions?
no.
Because right now you can't even go to the beach because
No,
all these
they've made that whole area a habitat
for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
No,
wasn't the case.
We swam at that beach,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I have a picture of our mother sitting in the Cove Beach when she was 12 years old,
Okay.
going down as a child.
Yeah, you can't go down there now. You'll be attacked by these giant
Right.
sea lions.
Right.
They're everywhere.
Okay, there's Uncle Clem and Aunt Ernie,
Okay.
and
I don't see a lot of Steve in him, but
here they are.
he looks
with-
very healthy.
Here's the later years, and this was their anniversary. And
Okay.
here they are with Mom and Dad. They ended up, Mom and Dad,
That's in color. Mom and Daddy Dave?
yeah,
Or, okay.
that's Mimi and Papa,
Okay.
and 29 Palms.
I
And
gotcha.
after they retired, they liked to go rock hound hunting in the desert, and that's how they found 29 Palms. And they bought this house, and after Uncle Clem died, Aunt Ernie and her second husband moved in across the street from them.
And 29 Palms.
Yes,
What's rock hounding? What do you mean rock hound?
finding rocks
Yeah,
in the
look
desert.
for rocks.
Just
Yeah,
decorative type stuff? They
Well,
just
yeah,
like,
but like you could get turquoise and copper,
Okay,
and then,
okay. And that's
polish.
what got
Guild,
'em.
you'd find guilds.
Yeah.
That's what got them out to 29 Palms, huh?
That's what they like to do. They had a little pickup truck, and they
Interesting.
camp in the back, and that's how they found 29
I'll
Palms.
be darned. That's a
And-
good place. There's a lot of rocks.
And they bought on their VA. They bought the house on Sunny Slope Drive for $11,000. It was a repossessed house,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where they finished their life.
Interesting.
But that's Aunt Ernie.
Just make sure we're still going strong, which we are.
Okay, that's good.
We're coming along.
Okay, here is Mary Ann's brother, Patrick.
Okay.
There was
never
Mary
met
Ann,
him.
Patrick, and Suzanne, the 3 children. And
Is that
here's-
the platform?
That's
That's
the
the
platform.
platform.
I'll be darned.
That they kept.
Can you imagine now?
All the
Going to
names.
bed and there was nothing,
Nothing
there.
there.
Waking up in the
Santa
morning.
does some awesome
Yeah.
things, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Santa, he's that's why they call it the
Yeah.
magic.
And here's Mary Ann and Patrick and Suzanne. Suzanne died also of some sort of kidney disease, but I did get to see her before she died, and they are as adults.
Now, do you remember, and you may not, but you got, when we had Rory, you got me a train set to go around our Christmas tree. As a young family, we had the train set that you had got us. It eventually broke, and I never replaced it. But Rory would remember the train set, but I imagine that's just from...
Yeah,
just from growing up
That's
with
from our
you.
childhood. It was
Yeah.
magical, and
Yeah.
and none of it was put up before we went to bed. It happened.
They made a party of it. You don't remember like waking up and sneaking down there and seeing...
Oh no!
Really?
They might have put stuff in our coffee or something.
They put some,
No, it was-
Good sleep aids.
yeah, some sleeping aid
Yeah,
for you
the
guys
2
to pass
times that
out.
the guy fell under the tree and they had to
Reconstruct it all.
They didn't get to bed until about 5:30, 6
Oh, my
o'clock, and we
goodness.
were up at 6:30.
Yeah, and
And
you're
they
waking
would,
them up.
and they have to look like, oh yeah, oh,
Yeah,
look
oh,
at
we're
that.
fine.
And all the packages were out
Yeah,
there too.
all
you know.
wrapped in
It was
What do you guys remember getting for Christmas? Like, were you considered well-to-do as or middle class?
I
What
don't
was
think we
your?
were. I wouldn't.
I would say we. Were,
No, we lived in
I always
So-
thought we were the working class of La Jolla.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're the
Mom
ones that
worked.
made La Jolla
Dad worked.
tick. Yeah.
We worked. Yeah.
Do you remember some of your Christmas Like what other than the train? Do you have any special Christmas
I
memories?
remember before Daddy Bill died, that the Christmas before he died, I remember I got a doll.
A doll.
That's all I remember.
Pretty
and then
common.
I remember on my 16th year, I was allowed to open Christmas Eve night. I was going out to a dance.
Okay.
And I could open my present, and I got a Bulova watch. And that was my Christmas
A Bulova watch?
Uh-huh. And I remember getting
I don't
usually
know that
one.
brand. Oh, yes, I do. Yeah.
One gift. I
Okay.
mean, we didn't have
Packages
presents.
all over, but
No.
you got one nice gift usually.
Yeah, and you might get something, clothes.
Right.
You know.
Something, a necessity.
Yeah, that was about.
But it wasn't like you guys just got an orange and a
Oh no,
and
no,
a slap
no.
on the back. You were.
I don't ever remember us having stockings. Do you?
No, not stockings. The one remembrance I have is that Daddy Bill was a fisherman. Well, of course, Pop
Yeah,
was a fisherman. And I got a fantastic fishing outfit.
Okay.
A pole, deep sea pole,
Okay.
a reel. I have a little box, you know, I had lures in it and everything.
Wow.
And it was probably the year before he died,
Hmm.
because he had plans to take me fishing.
Go fishing.
But, I know Uncle Clem said, wow, you know,
That's
wow.
a good
And
one.
so I had no need for it and had to give it, sell it or.
So you never pursued the fishing.
But it probably would have if Daddy
Yeah.
Bill had been
Yeah,
alive.
because he was.
Yeah.
But
So
I
that was
mean,
his plan was to spend some more
Yeah.
time with you fishing.
This reel was big enough to take enough line to a tuna or something.
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
It was just huge.
Moby Dick. Go looking for Moby Dick.
Yeah, I was really, and I'm still sad every time I think about that. You know, he had a lot of thought that he wanted us to be
Yeah.
fishing buddies.
Yeah. Obviously,
Never happened.
obviously, he knew he was not your biological father.
Oh, yeah.
But were there ever any hints
No.
that it was? Yeah. So they had kept that pretty quiet. They had.
Oh, we had
Hey,
no idea until
Daddy
Peter,
Bill's your dad.
until
and
Peter
that's-
got ready to go into the Air Force.
Yeah,
And
right.
I remember Mother calling us
Yeah.
out on the porch and telling
Yeah.
us, and we both just wept. We had no idea.
Yeah.
I think, and you'll agree with me, every time we had a different father, he was our father.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
very
Right,
nice.
and we
Yeah.
treated him just like
Just
he
like
was,
he was your father.
been there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I felt that way.
Yes, I don't think, because they were good men.
Yeah, they're all
Really.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think of Daddy Dave as being our savior, in my years growing up as a teenage girl.
You needed that.
He took me out on my 16th birthday to a movie. He liked movies.
Yeah.
We saw The African Queen. And we walked uptown to the movie, saw the movie, stopped and got a Coke. And he told me right then, he used to tease me that he'd sit me on a park bench and put a sack over my head so if anybody came by they wouldn't see me and he'd be able to give me away. That was his joke.
Gotcha.
But that night when I turned 16, he was very serious. And he said, I'm going to give you some good advice. He said, when anybody, any boyfriend or anybody like that gives you anything, he said, always be appreciative of whatever anybody ever gives you. And you'll always be popular with people. They'll always like you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good tip to give the wheelchair guy then.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a
No,
good,
that's
it's a good life tip.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that last night. Maybe I talked to somebody else that regardless of what you get, it's always the best gift
It's
you've
the
ever
best,
had.
yeah.
And you
I remember
may
saying
get
that.
rid of it next week, but
Yeah.
boy,
Yes.
At that
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Well, and a lot of people enjoy giving gifts, and your reaction can make or break that moment for them.
Yeah.
I have
that's
to-
good
oh,
advice.
excuse me.
Yeah, we need to take a break.
yeah, Daddy
Oh,
Dave
I'm sorry.
took me to
Oh, did he?
a burlesque show
I didn't know that.
when I turned 60.
Now we're talking.
You did?
Sally Rand.
Sally
Oh,
Rand.
my
I have no
word.
idea who that is.
Oh, she's very famous in our day as a burlesque queen.
Burlesque queen, so
Yeah.
pretty scandally dressed.
Oh,
yeah,
fans.
and she had fans.
Fans.
These
right
huge
behind.
ostrich fans.
Yeah.
And
I
it looked like she was
didn't know
naked,
that.
but it was,
Sure.
body color.
Yeah.
So that was your
Yeah,
gift.
we were at the Sprickles Theater in San
Did
Diego.
you?
Yeah.
I never knew
Well,
that,
he
Peter.
he didn't. You were a young lady.
That's right. We don't want.
I don't know what he was trying to do, is teach me life or what it was.
Hey, that's a good gift.
Yeah.
He
I'll
was
never
a dear
forget that.
soul.
That's
He
a
was
good gift.
dear
That's a
soul.
that's a special moment. That's like a special moment.
He was
between
trying to pass on to us some wisdom as we were,
Well, I
getting.
don't know how much wisdom's between the burlesque show, but
I don't
either
know.
way,
Well, it's about
Well,
life.
You know what?
part of
I
Naked
remember-
ladies. That's
well,
she
as a
was-
16-year-old, that's a big part of life.
No,
Yeah.
she was considered to be quite a lovely
Okay, so
top
she
of
was
the-
very popular at the top
and
of that food.
considered to be quite an artist. And,
yeah. She was.
It was not.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was burlesque. It wasn't
It wasn't.
porn. It was burlesque.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a more classical dance.
Yeah.
Now, hold on a second, because I'm going to plug this light in, but I also want to Google that name. I don't know who that is, or who
This
who you're
was,
referring to.
Marianne.
Marianne and Suzanne and Patrick. Yeah. He's still living with his first wife, who they divorced years and years ago, Vicky, and she has taken him in and is taking care of him in his elder years. Yeah.
Janet and
Yeah.
I stopped to see him one
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. But he's a
And
sweet guy too.
he's very proud of the fact that he was the
Yes.
caretaker of,
Oh, yes.
So what's this gal's name? That you went to watch
Sally
the
Sally
bird?
Rand.
Sally Rand.
R-A-N-D.
All right. Sally Rand burlesque show. I gotta be careful how I Google this.
I did.
The service down here is not the greatest. So there she is. She's a looker.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Who's Who Burley Sally Rand. Kind of has almost
Very
like a little
exotic eye.
Madonna. Yeah, you're an eye guy.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm an
that's
eye
why you fell in love with someone that's
With, Janet, yeah.
But she had these huge
Sally
fans, and she would dance across. You could.
The stage.
burlesque
Yeah.
dancer.
Yeah.
And of course, she flick
died
it so
at
you
age-
think you're seeing her naked body
Sure,
every
well,
once in
hey,
a while.
yeah, that's the
Everybody's
part of the show.
going,
What
yeah.
was that? So she died at 75. Here's a
There's, yeah. Whoop.
yeah. Well, we're gonna watch her. We're gonna watch what you watched. I imagine.
Oh, there's a.
I don't know what that is.
And there she is.
It's August
No, I don't know what this is. I thought it was. Oh, they're doing a history about her. There she is.
Yeah, she was very
So
grateful.
she was the
lovely.
only one on the stage.
Yes. And,
And she
yeah,
starts
had
to disrobe now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, either way, so that was your 16th birthday present by Daddy Dave. I'll be darned. That's funny. You didn't know that.
Never heard that.
Well, we men don't tell stories.
No. You got to keep that. to
This is
yourself.
Marianne and her whole family.
Okay, beautiful family.
They're still living there in an assisted living place now in Santee, California.
Marianne and
Marianne and Paul.
Paul.
He has Alzheimer's now.
I get a card every once from him now.
Yeah. She always asks about you. And these are all of her kids.
Beautiful family.
Yeah. And these are, now we're getting into her children.
Yep. Marianne's
and
children.
Yes, all
Gotcha.
of her children.
I assume they have these pictures too.
Yeah. And see, everybody brought
Everyone
pictures.
brought everything,
Yeah.
right?
We've seen those pictures before.
Yep.
That's Ginger. That was Suzanne's grandbaby.
Okay.
Okay, here's
Marriage license.
Paula
Okay.
to Patrick. Yeah.
Which is Pop. Mm-hmm. Okay, and what year was that they got married? Can you tell? It's kind of
November
1939.
1930.
or 07?
No, 07.
1907.
07, I
Yeah.
think.
Wow, so they got married in 1907.
Yeah, 1907. I got my glasses on.
Okay.
Now you can see it. Death certificate
That's
for
Daddy Bill's.
Daddy
yes.
Bill's death certificate. And what year did he pass away? I know how old you were, but
Yeah.
what was that? Died at, does it say 45 years old?
1944.
Or no?
45.
What does that say?
Date of death 1944.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the time.
Yeah, here it is. Here's the-
7:45 p.m. Time of death in 1944.
Yeah. He was from Chicago, Illinois, business
The
manager.
war's still going on. Really?
Yeah.
Well, see, because Daddy
Yeah.
Dave then was still in the Coast Guard meeting Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was the warden, so
Yeah.
that final year of his life, he was pretty busy with
Yeah.
With,
I don't know how long. I do remember him being sick at home, and I remember when they took him to the hospital. He didn't live long in the hospital. He was born in Cumberland, Maryland, and that's where Pop was from too.
Yeah.
Paula. She was born in Hamburg, Germany,
Wow.
and talks about the burial and everything. This is
Death certificate for
I can't tell the writing.
stuff.
Paula
That's Paula's death certificate.
Paula Manley. Yeah.
That's just when it was printed off. but
Right.
That would have been
1909.
1939. So they were married from 07 to 39. Okay.
Here are the
That's a pretty
recent
long
pictures.
of the village or the
Yes.
platform.
At Marianne's.
Does this thing spin on a spindle?
Oh, yeah.
And so those
Oh, yeah.
planes are flying around?
Yeah, and that's a German fighter pilot.
Yeah. Where is this at now?
Michael, Marianne's oldest boy, he has it in his possession.
Okay.
And from what I understand, it's on a large platform that they have pulleys, and they raise it up to the ceiling, and then they lower it.
Okay, so it's all put together.
Oh, yeah.
So they just bring it down.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's probably a little
and they
easier
added
than.
stuff to it,
Uh-huh.
you know. So there's Mother.
Yeah.
And those are the pearls
She's beautiful.
that Daddy Bill gave her.
No wonder
Yeah.
Grandpa or Daddy
Yeah.
Dave and Daddy Bill fell in love with that. She's
She,
beautiful.
when they would go out, she'd have me go across the street to the white oleander bush and get white oleanders to wear in her hair. Yeah. Yeah. And there's,
I know those people.
you know these people. This was in 29
That's in 29 Palms. That's what I remember.
Yes. Yes.
Because I was probably out there about
And
that
there
same
you
time.
with your, were
with
you
your camper.
RVing at that
They
time?
sure were.
And that, I don't know where you were though. There was a palm tree.
Well,
We were at an RV park.
Okay.
with
And
the
there's-
RV.
These are my family.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
us.
that's
I
all.
know those people.
Yeah, that's all my people. This was a-
Jordan looks a lot like Mimi. Look at that picture from there, from this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
I really
Yeah.
see that.
this was at Grandpa David's 80th
I remember,
birthday.
yep.
Steve was directing
Steve was in charge.
Yeah,
He's the only man that can get away with wearing white pants. I'm not sure how he could, but he could get away with wearing white
got
pants.
away with a lot of
He got
stuff.
away with it.
here is Angie and Josh.
Yep.
There's you with your twins.
That's,
Yeah, and there's
that's
you
the
and
girls.
Sabrina at your marriage. Look how young Caleb was.
Yeah. Well, we were young.
And
We were young. There's
there
the
you are
twins.
with the twins.
Grandma and Grandpa. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a big undertaking to have twins.
Oh my,
You had to do everything twice.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so that was a big benefit that that whole kind of panned out because we decided that we wanted Sabrina to be a stay-at-home mom for a year. So we agreed to kind of downsize to a different house to get a cheaper house so that we could afford Mama to stay at home because at the time though that we made that decision we didn't know we were having twins. So we downsized, but it really wasn't a downsize because this house that we bought had in-law quarters. It had
did?
like a back bedroom, full bathroom, and a kitchenette.
Yeah.
And I called them in-law quarters, but the previous owners had a small daycare.
Daycare,
They had a
that's
daycare
right.
back there. And so then at about week 25, Sabrina and I go in just for the regular ultrasound. And we had heard the heartbeat previously, but we didn't. This is our second kid. We know how it goes. We don't need to see anything. And the gal came in and put the ultrasound on her. She's like, "Oh, how long have you guys known you are having twins?" And we, in shock and awe, I started crying like a baby. I said, "What are you talking about?" But their hearts were in rhythm. And so all of the ultrasounds leading up to it, we didn't see vision.
No.
They were just checking for a heartbeat. And because they were in rhythm, we only heard one heartbeat.
Is that typical of
I
twins?
don't know. I've never done it before. But either way, so then we're like, we just moved and downsized our house, which was a blessing in disguise because we had an area that we could commandeer Grandma to come live with us and have her own private space. I think you stayed for a couple months.
Well, it was a good 6 weeks.
Yeah, I'd say a good couple months, but
it was a good 6 weeks. Yeah.
But yeah, so downsizing got us the cheaper house payment, which was beneficial because Sabrina did stay at home. But that was a big job. She breastfed both of them, and she had this contraption called my breast friend.
My breast.
Yeah, and she would wrap it around her, but it's like tapping a kegger, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you had to. She couldn't do it by herself, and so I'd have to get one of the kids latched on. Well, they were little, small. Obviously, they were very tiny, and so they had a supplemental formula. So I had to hook up a tap to the nipple in order for them to get mom's milk and so she had them both. She was pumped. It was going crazy, but you had to do everything twice.
Yeah.
They're fun. They're still fun. They're great kids.
So these are Josh's
Those are
children,
Josh's kids.
and that's Reagan when she was born.
Yeah.
And that's Angie and her family.
We jumped many generations, didn't we?
Yes. And here's Sharon with all of her grandbabies.
Yeah.
And at one of the
Fall
night
retreats.
retreats.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's Susie.
There's Susie and her family.
It does look like Paula.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
She looked like your grandmother, Paula.
Well, you know.
Which is crazy. You never met her.
Let me tell you something, though. When Billy came to see me a year or so ago, he didn't know anything about the Manley family.
Sure.
This is Susie's oldest boy.
Mm-hmm.
I opened this up, and he said, "That looks like me."
That does.
And it looked.
I was going to say the same thing.
And the same stature.
Yeah.
They're built the same.
Yeah.
He has the same.
If Billy had a
coloring.
mustache, it would look
just
exactly like Billy.
My grandfather.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
He picked it out. It was amazing.
at Susie's wedding,
Yeah.
I saw Billy, and he does. I see where that came from.
Here's Andrew in La Jolla when he went to school.
Yep. There's Billy.
There's Billy.
He does look like.
Yeah.
He did. That's funny.
And I think the
Diana.
reason I put these in is the other people wanted to know about my family.
Sure.
You know.
Right. Naturally.
There he is again.
Yeah.
And Andrew went into the ROTC and then the Navy.
The
from
Navy
there.
man.
Oh, here's
Still
some
in it.
pictures. Now here's some pictures that are interesting.
Okay.
This was Etha Gaines, Ferd's wife, mother's mother. And she had 3 sisters, Jen, Flo, and this is mother.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Jen wasn't there, but she had Aunt Flo and Aunt May.
Okay.
Aunt Flo sang for the troops in World War I in Italy.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
She had a wonderful voice, and they came to visit Grandma. And I remember being at Grandma and Ferd's one night, and they were all in the living room having a little cocktail.
Sure.
And Aunt May got out from her chair and did a somersault right in the middle of the living room.
It's amazing what a cocktail can do.
I know. There's Peter.
Yeah, and there's Peter. I think it's funny that you and Grandpa Dave look alike. I don't know if it's the glasses. I don't know if
Well,
it's
here they are.
they look alike.
Here they are. in
You would look
Rancho
like
Santa
brothers.
Fe.
Yeah.
I would think you're brothers.
Yeah, here they are in Rancho Santa Fe before we got married.
And Grandpa Dave was younger or same age as you?
No,
He's
he was
2
young.
years younger, I think.
He's 3 years older than me, and Peter's 4
okay, so
years
a year
older.
younger.
So a year
So
younger.
while you were a senior, he would have been a junior.
Yeah. And here's Mom and Dad, and here's Ferd and Grandma.
That's funny.
And this was one of our trips out to
So
California.
that's Daddy Dave.
Daddy, Dave, and
And I
Mom.
don't remember him.
You don't
obviously.
remember?
I don't. I remember.
There's a picture of you somewhere in their home.
Who made me the sailor hats out of newspaper?
Mom.
That's my earliest memory of going
Yeah.
to meet or visit with Mimi.
You were like maybe 2 or 3.
Probably,
That
but I
picture.
got a picture of a hat
Yeah.
she made out of
Yeah.
newspaper.
This was one of our trips out to California, and that was Mom and me in one of our trips. Here's your
Yep.
kids, Peter.
Let's spin that around.
This was one of the visits that you came down with Patty and the kids, and we were watching TV on the couch or on the
Yeah.
floor. There we are on the
So
floor.
which daughter is this? Is this
That's
Casey?
Carrie.
Or Carrie,
Carrie.
sorry.
And this is Carrie's.
Okay.
This is Mandy, isn't it? That's not Casey.
No, I don't know who that is.
I think that that is Mandy, Kurt's daughter, when
Maybe.
she was a little girl. I think so, because he brought her.
Well, but if it's Kurt's daughter, it wouldn't be with Carrie.
Well, but that's her aunt. Why not?
Could have been at a gathering.
Here's Kurt Moritz at their
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
The only
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Milt married them.
Milt did? I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh!
Okay.
That was an adventure in
I bet.
itself.
Where did they get married at?
Was it
It was
Riverside?
no, it was down in Southern California, in the
Okay.
LA area. I can't
Okay.
remember.
Milt and I were on our way to San Francisco with our dogs to leave our dogs with Milt Jr. and we were going to go to Iowa to one of Milt's reunions. And he had promised to marry Kurt. And
That's funny.
so we were going to stop there first. Well, our car broke down in Riverside. And the marriage was going on that afternoon. And so we called Stephen, Peter's son-in-law,
No.
and told him there was a problem. So Stephen came and got Milt and left me with the dogs at the service station to take Milt back
To get the.
to get the wedding
Get the
going.
wedding started.
Then he took Milt back, and then he came and got me and the dogs.
Left
and
you at a
took
service
me,
station.
And we got there just as they were performing the
That's
wedding.
funny.
Yeah.
So Kurt's the only one of your kids that I know. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I never knew Carrie and Casey.
No.
No.
I
No,
just
they
I
never
just
came
I just
out.
remember
Carrie
meeting
and
Kurt.
Casey never
and-
came out
Yeah.
to California while
Yeah.
I was living in the desert.
Yeah.
But Kurt brought Patty out one time, and then they also came to the house
Yeah.
when we had a reunion. And there's Carrie and her husband,
Jim. Jim.
Jim.
Oh, what's that thing? Carrie and
Rusty. What does it say?
See if I can-
Can't see it.
because I don't know who that
No,
person is.
this was Carrie and husband. Peter's kids.
Oh, that's what that is,
Casey's
husband.
daughter, Krista. That's
Okay, there it
Krista.
is. Okay,
How-
Krista,
Okay.
there.
Crisis
And this is
alert.
Kurt and family,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is Jim
So
and
this
Carrie.
This is Casey and Krista,
Casey.
Casey and Krista.
here's
Who's
Carrie.
Krista? Is that Casey's
daughter.
daughter.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
this
she's-
is Carrie and Jim.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay.
Very good.
Krista is a horsewoman. She rides in rodeos and
Really? Like barrel racing? Really?
Yeah.
Where at? Where does she do that? Is she, they're all in Michigan?
Yeah, she
That's
doesn't do it full time, but she's
Yeah.
Here's Nick,
I see him.
Yeah.
And that's with,
Mom.
yep, Uncle Nick. You guys were all three pretty similar in age for the most part, right?
all have sideburns.
You all had some great sideburns.
Yeah.
Here's
Classy
Steve
clothes.
and his little mini bike. And I
Like
was
Uncle Steve?
Yes, and that was behind our house, and he built a little track, and I was so against it.
Sure.
And
You've always been
Nick
against.
And David said, "Hands off,"
Let him
and he
be.
went like crazy on that thing. Anyway,
Well,
so these were just pictures that
Yeah.
I was trying to bring up. Milt's family,
yep.
Laura and Chris. When Chris got to be a pilot, he took Milt up.
That's fun.
And this was at,
At his funeral.
yeah, Milt's funeral.
Yep.
Yeah, there's Sylvia and your mom and
Uncle
me
Steve.
and Uncle Steve, and that was all the people
We filled that place up.
that The Navy
So
chaplain.
Uncle Steve and I, if you remember, we roomed together.
Yes.
So Mom and Dad were out there. I think they flew out with, I don't know, I can't remember, but we didn't travel with my parents.
No.
And Uncle Steve and I met in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
And then we drove together and roomed together at the hotel. But as we go out there, he was like you. He had to get there. We had to get there really early. Well, we got there so early, the doors weren't opened, and so we went to Taco Bell
Oh, yes.
in the right on base. It was
Right.
still on base, and we went and ate tacos, and before the funeral, which is a pretty risky move, getting that kind of Mexican food in you before you go. But yeah, that I remember that service. Andy spoke.
Yes.
Cousin Andy spoke at that
Yes.
service.
Remember the restaurant?
Yes, you took me out. This was the week after, I think, that Milt had died. You took me out to that restaurant. I don't remember where it was.
It's downtown,
Bella Rouge.
29 Palms.
That's not the Bella Rouge, is it?
Yeah, it was.
Looks like it.
Very new. It was one of the fanciest restaurants in
It
Bella
was the
Rouge.
Bella Rouge where Caleb worked then. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a little bar, and
Yeah.
they had some good food.
Yeah. Yeah. And Judy was living with us at the time also.